Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nicole Gitsky. Local firefighters are responding to a hazardous situation in Kern County. Now, the Kern County Fire Department says it's checking out a chemical leak on northbound Highway 99 just north of Lerdo Highway. According to California Highway Patrol, a big rig carrying several different chemicals pulled over to the side of the road and discovered that leak. CHP says they're trying to determine what that chemical is.
At this point, they're trying to determine what the substance is. There are several substances in the van, the trailer, but at this point, they're trying to determine which one it is and what course of action we're going to take.
You heard at one point that it might be bleach?
We don't know what it is.
The department says they've closed lanes of the highway and that it is slowing down traffic in the area, but the wind is blowing the chemical away from the highway. Traffic is expected to be back up for the next couple of hours. Now you're asked to take another route if you're driving near there. Now, big news around the nation today. The U.S. Supreme Court made a landmark ruling that President Trump was not allowed to end legal protections for young immigrants. Now, DACA, or the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, has allowed nearly 800,000 so-called dreamers to stay in the United States and avoid deportation. The president sought to end the program, calling it illegal. The Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that the federal government failed to give an adequate justification for ending DACA. It leaves the door open for the president to try again with a more detailed explanation. DACA allows children of illegal immigrants to stay in the U.S. if they were under 16 when their parents brought them here and if they arrived by 2007. Well, two men who witnessed the fatal shooting of Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta last week are talking about what they saw. Michael Perkins and Melvin Evans say they were in the drive-thru line at the Wendy's restaurant when they saw a fight involving an officer and then heard shots fired. Evans says he was too scared to drive away because he feared the officer might shoot at his SUV. They say they later learned one of those bullets did hit their SUV.
And I just heard all the tussling and stop resisting, stop fighting. I just said, this man finna kill this man out here. I ain't know what color he was or nothing. Like, we was the last car in line, and the situation occurred up there first before he started running toward our vehicle. And when I seen him running, I heard the tasers or whatever. Then when I heard them shots, my first reaction was to duck. I was up under the seat, in the back seat, ducking. I ain't see nothing till we was off the lot.
The officer who fired his weapon, Garrett Rolfe, has been charged with felony murder and 10 other charges. Well, now to a deadly officer-involved shooting in Rosamond. We've learned the man killed by L.A. County Sheriff's deputies is the half-brother of Robert Fuller. Now, you might remember that Fuller was the man found dead hanging from a tree in Palmdale last week. His death was initially ruled a suicide, but Fuller's family has called for a more thorough investigation. Now, here's what we know about that officer-involved shooting. It happened on 15th Street West in Rosamond near around 4:30 yesterday afternoon. The L.A. County Sheriff's Department and detectives with the Major Crimes Bureau were looking for a man wanted for kidnapping, spousal assault, and assault with a deadly weapon.
During the surveillance, they spotted who they believed to be the suspect. They followed the suspect for a while, and then they attempted to do a traffic stop on the suspect. When the suspect stopped his vehicle, he opened the door and began shooting at the deputies, and a deputy-involved shooting occurred.
The man was shot several times and died. A woman who was also in the car was shot once in the chest and is in the hospital. A 7-year-old girl was in the car but was not hurt. Now, the family of Robert Fuller confirms the suspect killed was his half-brother, Taryn Jamal Boone. The family issued a statement through their attorney asking for privacy. Well, now to the latest on the coronavirus here in Kern County. The coronavirus has claimed more lives in Kern as we continue to see a huge spike in cases. Now, here's a look at those latest numbers. One more person has died from the virus. We've now lost 58 lives in the past 12 weeks. 27 out of those 58 were living in local skilled nursing facilities. 78 more people were diagnosed with COVID-19. According to Public Health, over 45,000 Kern County residents have been tested. 90% of those tests have come back negative, and 96% of those who have been tested positive for COVID-19 are fully recovered or are covering. And looking ahead, Kern County is taking another step towards reopening. Tomorrow, nail salons, tattoo shops, and massage parlors will be allowed to open up. Of course, these businesses will have to follow health guidelines from the state. Workers and customers must wear face masks in the store. More intense cleaning practices for shared reusable items like tweezers and needles will be put in place as well. Now, some services will be limited. For example, no mouth or nose tattoos or piercings for that time being. Now, a baby is hurt after reportedly falling out of a window in downtown Bakersfield overnight. Now, police say it happened just after 12:30 at the Santa Fe Apartments on Union Avenue near 8th Street. Officers say a call came in that a baby had fallen out of the window at one of the units. That building is 3 stories tall, but it's unclear which floor the baby fell from. Police tell us they found a young child hurt at the scene. The extent of the baby's injuries are not known at this time. Police have released few details. And Kern County Sheriff's deputies are investigating a homicide in southeast Bakersfield. Deputies got a call around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon of a shooting victim in the 4500 block of Cottonwood Road. When they arrived, they found a man with a gunshot dead at the scene. There's no description of a suspect at this time. Anyone with information is asked to call KCSO. Well, Micah Holsenbeek, a member of what's become known as the Bakersfield Three, was killed for allegedly stealing a gun from a man whom some refer to as the boogeyman of Bakersfield. Now, that is according to recently released court documents. The 300-page report also reveals Holsenbeek feared for his life after being allegedly killed by Matthew Queen. In March 2018, Holsenbeek disappeared. His arm was found months later in the Kern River. Queen and Bailey Despot are charged with his murder, but Despot went missing in April of 2018. The report also details alleged manufacturing of illegal guns and why Queen now faces dozens of charges, including murder, torture, and kidnapping. Now, 17's Jason Katowski has a full report on our website, kget.com. Well, in your 17 Court Watch, a Bakersfield police officer who fell asleep with a loaded gun in his lap at a local movie theater pleaded no contest to being drunk in public charges. Now, Douglas Barrier was off duty and drinking during a showing of Frozen 2 at Studio Movie Grill on December 19th. The theater was evacuated as a precaution after staff were unable to wake Barrier, who was asleep with a gun lying in his crotch area, according to police and court documents. The staff said Barrier did not order drinks during the movie, but purchased a beer in the lobby. BPD says Barrier remains on administrative leave. His sentencing hearing is scheduled for July 2nd. Now, in court today, the former KCSO deputy arrested for allegedly kissing and groping a woman against her will. That happened back in October. Former Deputy Michael Everett Clark pleaded not guilty to the charges, including sexual battery and stalking. Clark was set for his preliminary hearing this morning. Now, the man convicted of killing a mother and her young child in a drunk driving crash could spend the rest of his life in prison. Wednesday, a judge sentenced Daniel Mejia to 15 years to life, plus another 7 years behind bars. A jury convicted Mejia of second-degree murder and other charges earlier this year. In 2017, investigators say Mejia was driving drunk, speeding down Highway 99, and slammed into a Jeep that was stopped in the center median near Taft Highway. 5-year-old Axel Rodriguez was killed. His mother, Carla Mendoza, died the next day. The additional 7 years of Mejia's sentence are for the injuries suffered by Axel's 3-year-old sister. Well, Kern County firefighters worked overnight to put out a brush fire in east of Bakersfield. Now, it's called the Baker Fire, and it's off of Bina and Calente Bodfish Roads. Now, CAL FIRE says 180 acres have burned. Fire crews were called to the area at around 6:30 yesterday evening. Now, those crews stayed out all night. That fire, at last check, is 60% contained. And a brush fire breaks out in East Bakersfield. Now, according to Kern Fire, it happened at 8 this morning at the dead end of Morning Drive and Palladian Drive. Now, that fire burned 3 acres. KFD says no structures were damaged and no injuries were reported. It is unknown what caused that fire. We'll take a look around the state. New details about the helicopter crash that killed basketball legend Kobe Bryant and 7 others. The report by the National Transportation Safety Board says the pilot of the helicopter reported ascending when it was actually heading for the ground. The NTSB report says the pilot may have, quote, misperceived the angle he was descending and banking. In the final descent before the crash, the pilot told air traffic control he was ascending to 4,000 feet. Final report on the cause of that crash is due at a later date. Let's send things back over to Kevin now with an extended look at our forecast. Kevin, it is hot out there today, but it's only going to get hotter.
Yeah, it's only going to get hotter heading into the weekend and early next week. We are under clear skies. We'll see a little haze throughout the day, and we're already into the 80s in many locations. Wasco right now sitting at 80. And here's a look at other temperatures around Kern County and kind of what we're looking at heading into the early part of the afternoon here. Bakersfield 86, 22% on the humidity, a west-northwest wind at 7, and valley temperatures all into the 80s right now. And then we've got temperatures in the 70s for the mountains. Tehachapi at 79. Areas to the north, the south, the coastal areas looking very nice this afternoon as well. Here's a look at the temperatures for daytime highs. 87 in Sacramento, mid-90s for Fresno today, 70s down in Los Angeles, San Diego. Beautiful weather there. And then Vegas at 91. The beaches did see a little bit of patchy fog this morning. May see that again tomorrow morning, but highs in the lower 70s today. A west-southwest wind 5 to 10. High pressure in place and building in. That means day by day we will see the warming and nothing on Futurecast HD. We will continue to be high and dry. This model going through next Wednesday evening. Take a look at the national weather right now. We've got a little bit of light rain into parts of Montana, and we're still tracking that area of low pressure on the East Coast, bringing some showers through parts of Kentucky, Ohio, and into Virginia. I was near the Carolinas yesterday. Temperatures today, 72 in Seattle. Perfect weather for them. 83 in Minneapolis, 89 in Chicago, and then mid to upper 70s from New York into D.C. Here at home, air quality today will be moderate with an AQI at 100. We are expecting to see the 90s, 96 in Bakersfield, 97 in Delano, 94 in Taft. For the mountains in the Kern River Valley, 78 in Frazier Park. Tehachapi today at 82, 90 for Lake Isabella, 89 in Wofford Heights. Look for that east wind 5 to 10, and then for the desert, sunny, 90 in Mojave, 97 in Ridgecrest. Your extended forecast, 99 to round out the work week. We kick off summer on Saturday with a high of 100. Father's Day, 102, 104 on Monday, and then slightly cooler Tuesday, Wednesday. For the mountains, we're going to keep you in the 80s through about Sunday, then lower 90s on the board for Monday, overnight in the 50s and 60s. And then for the Kern River Valley, we're looking at sunny skies, 93 tomorrow, 94 on Saturday. Father's Day, 97, and we're going to keep you in these upper 90s as we head into the early part of next week as well. So there's definitely a warm-up as we kick off summer on Saturday, but again, it's that time of year, Nicole, when we start to see the triple digits.
Now, high school seniors will walk across the stage for their diplomas next week. This comes after the Kern High School District Board of Trustees voted last month to allow physical graduation ceremonies at school sites. Now, there's a list of guidelines the district is implementing to help reduce the risk of COVID-19. The graduation ceremonies will also be live streamed due to the limits on the number of guests allowed. You can find a list of the graduation ceremonies on our website. Just click on that How link. Now, those ceremonies will start on Monday. An update to a story we brought you just a half hour ago. Crews are cleaning up after a chemical spill northbound Highway 99 just north of Lerdo Highway. The Kern County Fire Department has now determined that chemical is not dangerous. The California Highway Patrol says a big rig carrying several different chemicals pulled over to the side of the road at around 10 this morning and discovered the leak. Firefighters say a small amount of liquid had spilled in the trailer, but they determined the liquid did not pose a threat to the public or the environment. Well, tomorrow is Juneteenth, known as the day slavery ended in the U.S.
So on June 19, 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation by President Lincoln, the last state of Texas was informed that in accordance with the proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. So basically every year on June 19th, African Americans celebrate the anniversary of the emancipation of slaves. And so that's why we celebrate it. We call it Black Independence Day.
Now, some are calling for the day to be made into a federal holiday. Steve believes this is a way for us to acknowledge our terrible history and move in the direction of healing our nation.
I think that people are looking for a platform to be heard. I think the reason why so many people are protesting and there's riots all over the country, people feel like they are not being heard. And so this is one of the reasons why Bakersfield College is having these events so that people can voice their concerns. They can have discussions on race in America. They can talk about police brutality, and ways to fight for justice.
Now, Steve recommends learning the history behind the day and opening a textbook. He says we need to make sure we all work together to fix this. And those at BC are finding a way to honor victims of police brutality. BC and the Danny Morrison Show are teaming up to host conversations and virtual gatherings in the name of racial justice. Now, today they will be holding a live discussion with Danny Morrison. Now, tomorrow will be part 3 of their Light a Candle discussion. Well, this Friday, the 19th, is known as Juneteenth. Now, back in 1865, when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, and told slaves of their emancipation. Now, Tuesday, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam said he wants to make Juneteenth a paid state holiday.
Juneteenth is the oldest celebration of the end of slavery in the United States. Virginia has acknowledged this important milestone with an annual written proclamation. That's nice, but we need to do much more. It's time we elevate this, not just a celebration by and for some Virginians, but one acknowledged and celebrated by all of us, because that's how important this event is.
His announcement is his latest move to reckon with Virginia's history as a Confederate state. In April, he signed a bill into law that removed the Lee-Jackson Day holiday, which honored Confederate General Robert E. Lee and Thomas Stonewall Jackson. Instead, he established Election Day as a holiday. New at noon, the California Department of Public Health says people across the state are now required to wear some sort of face covering in most situations outside of the home. Scientists say people with no or few symptoms of COVID-19 can still spread the disease, and that the use of face coverings combined with physical distancing can reduce the spread. Those masks are mandated for everyone inside of or in line to enter any indoor public space, including the healthcare sector, in public transit, at work anywhere food is prepared or sold, and any public common areas like hallways or parking lots. Children under 2 years old are exempt from this rule. Now, there are also other exceptions. For a full list, now check out covid19.ca.gov.